This video was made possible thanks to my amazing patrons at patreon.com/magicalhacker. If you're not a patron and you would like me to make a video for you each month using your decks, become a patron today. Hey everybody, you're seeing something a little bit different today, and that's because I am joined here with BlindMTG, who's going to be doing a podcast with me over on his channel. So BlindMTG is a good buddy of mine. We talk all the time about all sorts of Commander stuff. So he said, you know what, let's do a podcast called Let's Talk Commander. And I said, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. We're doing a little bit of a teaser here. Something was released officially from the Commander Rules Committee, and I'm excited about this. What do you think, Ross?
Yeah, this is really exciting. Yeah, I guess we should introduce my name. My name is Ross. The channel's BlindMTG, but yeah, my name is Ross. And yeah, this is gonna be a pretty big change. I looked on Twitter right now because this was just announced like maybe 20 minutes ago. I looked on Twitter and no one's really talking about it much, which kind of surprised me. Yeah, this is gonna be. I think it's gonna change a few things up.
Oh yeah, for sure. So for those of you that are not aware of this change, maybe by the point that this video comes out, everybody knows about it, everybody's talking about it. But for right now, it's, people are still not 100% aware of it as, just yet. So this is what happened. In the rules of Commander, number 7 over here, I've got on my screen, it says, if a commander would be put into a library, hand, graveyard, or exile from anywhere, its owner may choose to move it to the command zone instead. Now, the Rules Committee, specifically Toby, in a video on Twitch, just mentioned that with Core Set 2021 coming out pretty soon, one of the rule changes that's going to be made when it comes out is that this rule will be reworded so that if a commander would go to a graveyard and you want to put it in the command zone, it will still trigger the death effect of that commander. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to word it. I mean, depending on what wording they use, it's actually going to affect the format in a couple of different ways. But yeah, this is something a lot of people have been asking for a long time. I mean, what was the first thing that you heard? People were like, wait, the commander doesn't die? Like,
yeah,
if I hit it with a murder, it doesn't die?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there are a lot of instances where I've played games where that has definitely mattered. Let's see, for example, isn't let's either Grave Pact, possibly, things like that, or Waste or not waste not, never mind. Just things along those lines. Just any time where you have the commander go to the graveyard, or what the player thinks the commander goes to the graveyard, that's where just all this gray area gets thrown in, and I'm really confused. So I think it makes this makes sense, and it's gonna make sense, and it's gonna make things easier for people to understand, casual players and just veteran players as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that was one of the reasons they said they wanted to fix it, because they felt like the way this is worded, it's another one of those like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why does it have to work that way? Why does it work that way? So I'm glad that they're changing it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of effects that will be changing. You mentioned Grave Pact, Dictative Erebos, kind of in the same category. Yeah. Like, those are really heavily played. I looked up here quickly on Scryfall to find things that care about death, like Skull Clamp. Now you can put on a commander, and your commander can die, and you can draw 2 cards off of that with the Skull Clamp.
Exactly.
Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat.
Like, obviously we're all thinking about like the big broken things that you could do with this change. But even the small things matter. Like in a Taste of Karlov deck, if you can get Teysa to die, that's 2 more death triggers that could change the game for you. So it does matter. That could
be the difference between a win and a loss.
And I think that's kind of where people are. Like, they look at it and they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I think it really does matter. It's definitely worth talking about.
Yep. And there's something here that came up on my search. I didn't even realize Terastodon is an 8-mana creature. Here it says, when Terastodon enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. Well, if you have a commander that somehow has turned into a non-creature permanent, let's say you've got something like a Rixmathes, right, where it's a land, it's not a creature. Yeah. If you choose that with Terastodon and you decide to put it back in your command zone, you won't get the 3/3 elephant, because it says, for each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller creates a 3/3. That's never come up, but now looking at it, I would have totally assumed it would have made a 3/3, not thinking about how Terastodon works with the command zone rule.
For sure.
So yeah, there's a lot of, like you said, little things that will change. Now, Grim Haruspex will trigger and let you draw cards off of your commander. You can get counters on Black Market.
Yeah. Would you sort of, to kind of give a metaphor to this, would you describe, in the past, it was like when a creature died, before it went to the graveyard, it was whisked away to the command zone, and now it kind of touches the graveyard, gets that trigger, and then goes away. Is that how you would describe it? Just to kind of...
Now I'm thinking that's how it's going to be it's going to be worded. In I want to say maybe the past, actually in this year, there have been a lot of discussions, and I've been kind of talking about what are some changes I would like to see done to the format, and this was one of the ones that I was really excited about. Hopefully one day them changing. I never thought it would happen this soon.
Yeah.
But what I said was, why don't we, instead of changing it to a replacement effect, where it says here, if a commander would be put into a library, hand, graveyard, or exile from anywhere, its owner may choose to move it to the command zone instead. That's a fine, replacement effect. Obviously, you don't want to make it into a triggered ability where you can,
for sure.
Stifle that effect. But if you could turn into a replacement effect that doesn't replace it going to that zone, it instead allows you to additionally move it to that command zone, then what you could say is here, if a commander would be put into a library, hand, graveyard, or exile from anywhere, its owner may choose to move it to that zone, then to the command zone instead. If they do a simple wording like that, it works exactly the way you'd expect. It's a little weird with library, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna just make that for the graveyard and exile, or just for all of them. That's interesting to see how they're gonna add that one word to, or just shuffle around a few words to really change the rules. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, and you know what? They might, now that you mention it, maybe they're gonna just get around the whole library in hand business, because they specifically mentioned that it was going to trigger graveyard and exile abilities. Like that was what they explicitly said in that video. So maybe what they're going to be doing is that you can choose to move it to the graveyard or the exile and then move it to the command zone instead. So even if it would be put into a library, maybe it will still trigger death rules. I don't know. That doesn't seem super likely, I think.
I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, like I feel like it would make more sense for them to do all of it, because obviously the most common cases are going to be with exile and with death, but there are a few cases probably where someone's going to bounce something to your hand or to the top of your library, and that rule is going to matter.
And you know what? Maybe they will just have it the same for all zones. They have been one to make rules based on consistency, trying to go for that consistency as much as possible in terms of staying consistent with their rulings. If it does it for this, it has to do it for that too. So maybe that's what will happen. But there's a kind of another layer here, It's not just with Blood Artist effects that I've seen this. You mentioned that was kind of where you thought of, where it going first. For me, I thought of actually the commanders that specifically say them dying. So these are examples like Child of Alara, you've got Rolex, Apex
for sure.
Hybrid, Olinda the Dark Rose. Yeah. So a lot of these are going to be interesting. Even on that Locus of Rage will get a little bit of a boost here too. So
true.
Definitely a very interesting rule change. Again, I never thought I would see it happen so soon. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Do you think it'll make some commanders more popular, maybe some commanders less popular?
I think there are many more cases where it's going to make commanders more popular and slightly more viable. I don't think it's going to make certain commanders broken, but you never know. I mean, I'm not a playtester, but here's my question. What do you think this means for Core Set 2021? What, do you think that means anything?
Yeah, you know what? I do actually. I think you're suggesting that maybe there's a commander coming out in the core set that needs this rule change in order to work properly.
Yeah, that's definitely the feeling. That's definitely the feeling I get. Just because, I mean, it's not like this was a mechanic that's been pushed or that people have been pushing to get changed. Like everyone's been kind of settled down after Flash Hulk and everything. So for them to just kind of go and change this, I definitely get the feeling that there's definitely going to be a commander coming out that's definitely going to matter. And I'm excited.
I wonder though, looking back at their rule changes that they have made in the past. I mean, you look at Lutri, who was banned before it was even released. It was banned the day it was previewed. I wonder if this means that we can kind of infer that the new commander from Corsa 2021 is not just a commander that is like Olinda or Omnath, where it cares about dying, maybe specifically it's a card that is balanced by having a downside printed into its death ability. So without this rule change, it's too powerful.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thought, because it's you could almost draw a parallel to Lutri, because I know a lot of people may be doing that, but it's not the same, because people may be saying, well, why didn't people just change the rules for Lutri? Because that's an entire mechanic versus a slight rules change. So keep that in mind.
Right.
But yeah, for sure, I definitely get that. That definitely could be a possibility, that they're just using it to tone down a commander that's going to be coming out, which would be cool design. I'd be totally down to see what they come up with. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, just kind of looking at their past, like, if they wanted to make this rule change, why not make it with Olinda? I mean, this is one of the most popular cards that people have wanted to build, once a change like this is made. I wouldn't be surprised to see this, like, already skyrocketing in price, or maybe have already skyrocketed in price. Like, let me just take a look here at the price, how much it is, because I don't think it's not that much, right? It's still pretty low. So let me just take a look here at how much this actually costs. Because again, Olinda the Dusk Rose, it was a popular commander. It's in Aristocrats. It's white and black. People usually love commanders like that. Having something like this that can generate so many tokens. How much dollars is it?
No. I was just saying black and white's popular aristocrat color. I don't know how many. I don't know how much it actually costs.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like, oh wow, it is already up to $17, $16. So it's pretty up there. I mean, I would not be surprised to see this jump up to like maybe 30 or so.
Yeah, you never know.
By the end of the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the price history of the card. So it really all depends on where it was before. But yeah, like, definitely wouldn't be surprised to see a spike in this.
Yeah, I think people are going to be excited to do this one. I think people are probably already maybe having already done that with Olinda, since, well, it's not a human, right? Yeah, it's not a human. So maybe the mutate kind of changed things up for these death abilities, because I don't know if you were aware with
I don't even want to think about death triggers with mutate. I'm not a judge for that. That just sounds so complicated.
It's actually not as complex as you would think. So Child of Alara was what I was thinking would be the most popular 5-color commander for mutate, because once you mutate onto Child of Alara, when it dies, because one of those cards is going to the graveyard, it triggers that ability of death. So you can put Child of Alara back into the command zone, and your mutate card goes to the graveyard. Now that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not about Core Set 2021 at all. Maybe it's just they saw people using mutate on these cards, and they said, man, this is a lot of hoops to jump through, and the effect is not as scary as we thought.
Yeah, maybe we're just,
you know what?
Sorry. Maybe we're just going to totally whiff, and there's not going to be a special commander for this. They just came out and just wanted to make this change and decided to do it. Why not? But who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely up in the air right now. I think Olinda, Child of Alara are probably the two that are going to see more play. I don't know. Are you excited about Rolesk now? Because this is just double proliferate when it dies.
Yeah. Well,
does that make it more? Does that make it better?
Absolutely. I think it makes it a lot more viable as a commander. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's not a commander, but yeah, double proliferate. That's, you could do some nutty things with that. And let's see, off the top of my head, that's it. Rolesk is Simic, right? So.
Yeah, so Rolesk is a 5-mana legendary 4/5 human mutant with flying and trample that says when it enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, and when it dies, proliferate, then proliferate again.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, off the top of my head, doubling season, it's going to be crazy, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. I don't play proliferate that much. Like, +1/+1 counters aren't my thing. Just because, like, I don't like keeping track of so many dies, but, like, I'm sure people are going to come up with broken things out there to do.
For sure.
The sad thing is, and I hope other people don't get this confused, like I keep doing, is that this is just for commanders, I guess. Like, it doesn't... You still have to be able to do all of this with your commander. So the combos are still kind of restricted because it's like, oh, if I did this in blue, black, green, well... I can't do that combo with Rolesk because it can only be in blue and green. So, just interesting.
Right. You have that limited.
Yeah, it's limited. So that's going back to what I said before. That's why I think it's gonna make some decks bigger or better, but not as splashy as some people may think.
Yeah, I mean, even here, I looked up all the commanders that care about death triggers. There's 36 of them, and half of them don't even care about the death trigger in a specific way. Like, you've got Kozilek and Ulamog, which those don't really count for commander because you're not really, I mean, in a way, if you are playing them and they get destroyed or sacrificed, then you'll shuffle your whole graveyard into your library when you put it in the command zone. I guess that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but that's...
Yeah, it doesn't really impact it.
Yeah, you're not going to be building a whole deck around that.
Yeah. Really, it's just Child of Alara, Roalesk Apex Hybrid, Olinda the Dusk Rose, Omnath Locus of Rage, and I think that's it. Maybe, actually, no, there's Inami as one. Iname as one probably gets a little bit of a benefit. Maybe Iname Life Aspect as well, but I mean they're really huge, expensive commanders from Kamigawa. Let's be honest, probably not going to do anything. Yeah. Although you know what, the cycle of stars from Kamigawa, that might be a different story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like with Kakusho, we'll see Kakusho get banned again. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
Kakusho banned again. Yeah, right. Hilarious.
I definitely think what it comes down to is that it's going to be a quality of life improvement overall for just the whole commander format. Yeah,
yeah. Although I'm a little worried someone's going to be playing Yosei the Morningstar. That's the dragon that makes a target player skip their untapped.
I mean, that's mono white, so maybe that's a mono white commander now.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Is it good enough to make people desire to play mono white more? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But ultimately, I'm excited for this change.
Yeah, I am too. Well, I'm starting to think about Yosei. Like, it drains them for 5, right? Each person.
No, that's Kokusho. So
they gain 5.
Yeah. Yosei here, when it dies, target player skips his or her next untap step, tap up to 5 target permanents.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, I don't know what I'm thinking. Never mind. My bad. Yeah, that still could be totally broken either way.
I mean, just being able to have the commander out there, and you can have a sacrifice outlet, and you can sacrifice at any time, put it back in the command zone, and do this. I mean,
and then just make the rest of the deck combat based. I think it'd be I think it'd be viable. It'd be interesting to say the least. So
yeah, that's for sure. Maybe you just play like as much ramp as possible to just keep recasting Yosei every turn, as
Or I mean,
that might be what you want to do with the deck.
Get Yosei and then Luminous Broodmoth. You're welcome. You're welcome.
It dies and comes back. Well, no, it already has flying.
Oh gosh, the one time it matters. The one time it matters. Jeez.
All right. Yeah. There's a few other cards I want to talk about because I think there are a couple of other cards that potentially could be pushed even further. And we're kind of balanced by the fact that they didn't, work against the commanders. So the first one I'm thinking of is Grave Betrayal. This is a 7-drop enchantment that says whenever a creature you don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control with an additional +1/+1 counter on at the beginning of the next end step. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Notably, it does not say return it from the graveyard. So if it dies and gets put back into the command zone immediately, you still return it to the battlefield. So
that's
does
really
that make
true.
this like... Yeah, does that make this like a 7 mana? Whenever a commander dies, you get to put onto your battlefield for free, and somebody else has to kill it again in order to be able to recast it.
Yeah,
like that seems pretty busted.
I think that's a really good point because before they technically did not die; they just went back to the command zone. So now they're actually dying. Yeah, I don't know. Would they? Okay, so they go to the graveyard. Do you think they'd go back to the command zone before the trigger happens, or do you think it would happen right when they touch the graveyard? That's what I'm wondering.
So it depends on if they keep it a replacement effect. If they go to a triggered ability, obviously there's way too many problems with that. Stifle effects, and there's other things too. Like what happens if you copy it? You know what I mean? Like there's other things that could be problematic. So I have a feeling they're going to keep it as a replacement effect, and replacement effects don't use this stack. That's kind of one of the benefits of using a replacement effect. So when, let's say, a board wipe happens and you've got a Grave Betrayal on the battlefield, the board wipe happens, the commander will go to the graveyard, I'm assuming. I mean, it really depends on what their specific wording is, but I'm assuming what's going to happen is it's going to go to the graveyard, and then the opponent will have the choice to put it back into the command zone. That will still trigger the Grave Betrayal because it's a replacement effect, and it will happen afterwards. But it'll be in the command zone by the time Grave Betrayal is put onto the stack.
Yeah.
So a little strange here. But I think that's how it's going to work.
See how it plays out. Really interesting, though.
Yeah. I think Grave Betrayal could potentially be a lot more playable. I know a lot of people really hate it for being like a 7-mana do-nothing enchantment, but it could be. It could be actually a a big deal. Kaya's
I
Ghost
definitely
Form,
think so.
another similar effect. You don't think so?
Oh no, I said I definitely think so. I mean, especially
you definitely think so?
in decks
Okay.
with higher mana curves where they can afford to ramp out that early. I mean, yeah, anything like green, black, whatever, that'd be really good to put in. And yeah, Kaya's Ghost Form. Even without the change, I use Kaya's Ghost Form. So
Oh yeah, so you're gonna see a huge buff to this card, right? Where now you can just enchant a commander because it cares about going into the graveyard or into exile.
Yeah.
So now you got like two aspects, fixed. Before you couldn't target a commander with that. Now you can.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Yeah, that one I think that could actually become an all-star in my decks now too, because before I like playing cards that can take away a commander from somebody.
Yeah.
But it's hard to argue with a 1-mana way to do it.
Yeah, for sure, and
that's pretty tough.
Just because the commander doesn't read, when this thing enters or reaches the graveyard, doesn't mean that your deck isn't going to be built around that, and you could just use your commander to take advantage of that even more.
Right.
So.
Right. Yep. Yep. Another card here that could get a significant boost is Massacre Girl.
Yes.
A lot of commanders don't have huge toughness, and Massacre Girl coming down sometimes felt like I couldn't really board wipe all the way because the majority of creatures out there were commanders anyways. So, yeah. Massacre Girl is going to get a huge buff. Huh. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how this changes like the way people view certain cards. I know I'm going to have to go through a lot of these cards. I wonder if there's any cards here that actually get a nerf as a result of this rule change. It'd be an interesting question.
There are definitely cards out there that have downsides to when they die.
Right.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. There's here Heirloom Blade. That's another effect. Normally you don't really run it unless you're a hugely tribal deck that's also sacrificing things, but I think now with this change, Heirloom Blade can be played in a lot more decks. If you're an equipment based deck, you can just put it on your commander, and when it dies you get a free creature out of the exchange. And you can kind of rely on your commander always being there, so you can kind of build around the Heirloom Blade being in the deck too.
Yeah.
There's also Necro Skitter. You've got them. If you're putting -1/-1 counters on opponent's creatures, you can bring those back. There's Archangel Avacyn, which is kind of weird, where if a non-angel creature you control dies, you get to transform at the beginning of the next end step or next upkeep. With Archangel Avacyn, you can flip it off of a commander dying too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff here. Yeah, there is one card that I'm thinking about that I was hoping to see here. Another card that allows you to get additional benefit, kind of in the same category as Grave Pact. You got Martyrs Bond. So now if you've got artifact
I have no idea what that does.
Or enchantment creatures, it's a 6-mana enchantment that says whenever Martyrs Bond or another non-land permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a permanent that shares a card type with it. So that one means now you can use that just like you would use a Grave Pact or a Dictate of Variables.
Wow.
But now if you've got an opponent that has no creatures and your commander is an artifact creature, when it dies, they have to sacrifice an artifact.
That's true. That's crazy. Well, would they have to sacrifice an artifact and a creature as well? Or just one?
No, just one permanent that shares a type.
Still, either way, that's pretty good.
Either way, that's still fantastic. And there's a lot more cards on here. There is one card that I'm thinking about that does get a significant downgrade, and I was hoping to see it here, but I didn't actually find it, and that's Assault Suit. So Assault Suit, I'm going to go ahead and find it just so I can make sure that I'm reading out the actual card, because I don't want to butcher what it actually says. But Assault Suit was an equipment. I don't remember even when it was printed. It was printed quite a while back, but I remember looking at it and I remember saying, "Oh, this is good because commanders can't die." But it's a 4-drop equipment with Equip for 3 that says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and haste, can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, and can't be sacrificed. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep... Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is not even the right card. This is a different card. It's another equipment. I'm sorry. I'm reading off the wrong card here. It's another equipment that also costs 4. And I'm just going to look up if it says dies. That should find it here. Because... Here it is, Avarice Amulet. I'm sorry. It must have been printed, similar, maybe at a similar time. It's a 4-drop equipment that says equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance, and at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. It also has the ability, whenever equipped creature dies, target opponent gains control of Avarice Amulet. So the benefit here was you can get that extra draw, and obviously +2/+2 Vigilance is kind of cool too. You get the extra card draw on a 4-drop card. The downside is you have to attach it to your commander, otherwise when that creature dies, it's going to the equipment is going to go to an opponent. But yeah, this is definitely going to get a huge downgrade. It's not super played anyways, but
yeah,
it's still a card that will actually get hurt from this rule change. What do you think?
I mean, it does kind of depend, because it kind of adds a politics-esque factor to it, because let's say someone's in the lead, they kill your commander, you give that artifact to someone else who has the means to take out the king. Does that make sense? So it's definitely a downside in that, you're giving it to someone else. But there are ways to make it into your benefit. You just got to be creative.
Yeah, if you got a rest in peace on board, like nobody's still.
I'm all about the politics when it comes to. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also all about that politics. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this rule changes. I'm really excited to be talking with you, Ross, and I'm hoping that everybody who's watching this here. Yeah, you definitely go over to BlindMTG. The link is youtube.com/BlindMTG. That's where Ross will have our podcast up called Let's Talk Commander. And our first episode is coming out pretty soon. Pretty excited for that. And this is kind of a nice little teaser for everybody who wants to go check that out. So thanks so much for being here, Ross. Thank you everybody watching it. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time.
Later.